Hi there people. Sorry I'm a little bit late popping on. Labour weekend here in Cambridge, New Zealand, and I've got my sister visiting and I'm afraid we got a little bit sidetracked. So I thought I'd pop on and show these cards I made earlier in the week and give you some inspiration for using up some of your strips of paper. This is a very old pattern paper that you might recognise if you've been around the traps for a while, as they say. And I made this one first, and it's got eight skinny strips that are a regular size, and I cut them up, and then I thought, well, I'll try this style here. So because I trimmed these all to a regular size, I ended up with a whole lot of different size strips, and that's what I used on this one. So I'm going to quickly go through both of these. I've already got some of my strips cut for this one, and I'll show you how I went about doing that. So here's my strips, and I've cut them all 1.4 centimetres wide, and they are different lengths, and I'll show you how we're going to make that work. And I actually just wrote down my little dimensions here. So this is a card base I've made. I'm using the cherry cobbler, and I've got one mat which I've cut 9.6 by 13.9. There is going to be a PDF that I'll make available that will have these dimensions in, but 9.6 by 13.9. And then I've also cut another one that is 9 by 13.3. So I've just written on the back just to remind me, because I haven't written up the PDF yet. And I've cut these strips, as I said, 1.4 centimetres wide. So there's a couple of things I want to do to make this simpler. I'm going to, first of all, mark the middle of this, and I said it was 13.3. Of course, it would have to be 13.3, wouldn't it? Let's bring this up into the camera so you can see what I'm doing here. And I need my pencil, which is right here. I think I need to zoom out a little bit. I mean, the other way. Can I make this? Hi, Suzanne. Nice to see you on. I'm just going to try and make this, you know, doing lives, make it look really easy, but it's not as easy as you think. I can't actually make that zoom any more than I have. Anyway, we'll just work with what we've got. So I said that was 13.3. So 13.3. I'm just going to mark on here the halfway point, and the halfway point. Oh my goodness, it's actually about 7.6, isn't it? No, it's not. 6.6. I think I've done that right. It's about 6, just a bit over 6.6. So I'm just marking on there 6.6. It'll just give me another little help to getting this lined up nicely. Okay, so that's just a little pencil mark that I'll be able to rub out afterwards. And so I've got these strips. I'm just going to show you how I cut my strips. I've just, this is, you can see this is scrap. In fact, this is something that I've used for something else, and probably cut off the piece. One moment while I get my trimmer. Right, so we're just going to line this up, 1.4. This is what I've done with all the other ones. As long as they were more than 9 centimetres long, I haven't worried too much about the length of them. So we're just cutting up pieces like that. And obviously the double-sided paper, we can use both. So just showing you again, this is the card that I'm basing this design on. I think you can see it there. Right, so let's just sit down and do a little gluing. Now, this one is the one that's 9 by 13.3. And I usually do try and lay them out in some sort of pleasing pattern before I start gluing them down. Just because otherwise you can end up with two ones that are too similar together, and it's not so attractive. Those I've got some duplicates, but maybe we can use the other side. Yes, maybe that one and that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Need one more. I might do this stripy one this way. Okay, so I've got my 8. We should have 2, 4, 6, 8. And the very first one we're going to stick down right on this edge. And I'm going to butt it right up to the edge and bring it down, have an overlap down the bottom. And I'm going to do the same thing on the far side with this one. Actually, I'm going to put it on the paper. So butting it right up to the edge and having a bit of an overlap. I think you can see what I'm doing. Can you see what I'm doing? I'll bring it up into the screen a little bit more. So we've got 6 more we have to fit in here. And I'm just going to, so the gap between them should be about 3 millimeters. So I think I've got the glue that isn't going to run. We love it when that happens. So you can also use your graph paper here to help you line these things up. And I'm just lining it up, so we're going to end up with about 3 millimeters, which is, you know, that much. Not that much. So I'm putting these, you know, as I said, I marked that centre line. This, they need to be about, I think I'm going to have to get another glue if this is going to be misbehaving. So from that pencil mark that we made, it needs to be about 1.5 centimetres from the pencil mark, so the total gap is about 3. And then we should be able to fit 2 more. Have I lost? No, I've moved them around somehow a little bit here, but let's just see. I think this is still going to look okay, or no? See, those 2 are too similar together, I would say. Ah, well, this is what happens when you move things and you don't mean to. This will be okay like this. So then we just need to stick down the last ones to... Now you'll see in my original one, if you look closely at my original one, in fact, it's not that accurate. And it doesn't, you can't really notice once it's all glued down. Let me get some more glue. Oh my goodness. Okay, here's one that I opened yesterday, so it should have plenty of glue in it. Apologies for that, people. So I'm just gluing these ones down. So we've got even spaces. Butt it up to the top. It's pretty even. So this, I quite like this paper with the very vanilla. It's got quite a limited colour palette, but I think it looks very nice. So the colours are cherry cobbler and old olive and very vanilla. And there are actually some pear pizzazz in there too, which is a retired one, but it's just a more muted version of the old olive, really. So you can see we need to cut off these strips down here. You can either use scissors or you can use your trimmer. I'm going to use my trimmer because I like using my trimmer. And just lining that up there. And we're just going to come down and trim off all those little ends. Now, the next piece that we've got, which I gave the dimensions of, 9.6 by 13.9. You'll find when we pop this on here, it acts as a mat and it makes it, I'm using the same colour as what we suck these down to. So that just helps you get everything lined up because you're making these outside ones flash. And you can either pop this up on dimensionals, or you can just glue them straight back onto the wrong one. So this is something you could use with any group of like-minded papers, and it's a great way of using up those odd little scraps that you get. I found it, I was quite happy with how this came together. And then I just pop this onto my card base. Okay, and that's that done. I've just used a sentiment. I've used sentiment from the brightest. Here we go. What are we calling this one? Brightest Glow. It's a lovely stamp set. It's in the annual catalogue, and I used this Merry Christmas, which I think is rather lovely. And I added a few little neutral sequins to it, just add a bit of bling, and then that will be the card finish. So I'll come back and finish that one off, and then after I trim these down to make these all the same size, I ended up with lots of random scraps, and that's what I used to make this card. So this card I used a 9 by 13.3 mat is what I used, and I'm going to actually, I think this is my very last piece of Pear Pizzazz, and I'm going to use this. And the very first thing I did was I stamped the greeting. So I'm going to stamp my greeting, and I think for something like this, it's nice to have something that's fairly bold and a bit, maybe a little chunky, I guess I'd call that. So it makes a bit of statement, it doesn't get lost, and something that's got that sort of linear feel to it. So I have got which I do not have right here in front of me. Maybe I'm just getting another stamp out because I think maybe I'll use a different stamp on this one. Just going to put yes. So I'm using a different stamp. Again, this is quite a chunky dimensional one, and it's from the same set. This is the Happy Holidays. So I'm just going to mount this onto my block. So there seems to be a shadow here. I'll just see if I can turn this light on and get a bit less shadow. So when I'm wanting to stamp something straight, which is most of the time, I usually like to mount up my stamp using my grid paper and the block. So that should be straight on the block. Now I did notice with this one there does seem to be, it's not quite centered, cut quite centered. Actually that is quite not straight. I'm going to show you a way of dealing with these stamps when they're they don't seem to be mounted quite straight. Yeah, that's a bit of a nuisance. Let me see if I can, well, let me try stamping it first and see how we do. So I'm going to stamp this on here. I'm going to use my cherry cobbler for a change. On this one, obviously I think I used the same colour as the background, which I actually used a Mossy Meadow, which is one of our neutrals. It's not actually in this paper, but it certainly looks really nice with it, I think. So I'm going to just use the grid paper here to help me try and not get my head in the way. And I'm just going to stamp that. Oh, that's actually pretty straight. So I'm not going to be too anxious about that. I should be able to just stamp it onto the strip. This strip is 1.5 centimetres wide, but it doesn't have to be that particular size. Let's see if I can pop that on there. Okay, that'll be fine. That will be fine. Good, so we've stamped that, and we've got the card base, which I said we're using this old Pear Pizzazz. And I'm just going to trim this down with my scissors. And we need to allow, we don't want to cut it too short here because we're going to put it on the diagonal. Yeah, obviously, again, this is one where we can trim things off. So I think that's as much trimming as I'm going to do. I'm going to get my glue here, and the first one. So you know, it's quite pleasing to put. It's pleasing to the eye to put the focus sort of in that sort of rule of thirds they talk about. So I'm putting almost a third of the way down. It's probably a little high. And then I'm going to get all my random strips. So let me just go and grab my random strips, which are just behind me here. So you can see I've got quite a few random strips. Some of them are very skinny and some of them are not. And I just sort of did them as I went along. And I made some longer than the, in fact I put the glue on here. I just found that was easier. And I'm just popping that in, butting it up. So it's butting up against the paper there. And then I chose a thinner piece. Actually, I don't want a stripe. So I don't really want to put a stripe next to a stripe. So I'm just going to put a thinner piece. This is a little dotty piece, but it isn't, this is not cut straight. So I do want to keep this actually fairly straight. So I'll move on to a bit like this one. And then I will see what else have we got in here. I'm going to put, and you're just working along to get a pattern that you like the look of. Some of these ones that are extra long, I'm just going to snip off. I don't think I got quite enough glue on there. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Who else have we got here? Hello, Anne. Nice to see you there. Give me some feedback if you're having trouble following along. And I'll try and adjust as I go. But you can see I'm just... so this is this one, but it's different on the other side. So I'm going to just add a bit of glue on here. And we're going to trim these all off at the end in the same sort of way as we did that previous one. And you want to mix up the widths a bit. So I've got a couple here that are similar widths. So I'm going to bring in, here's a nice skinny one. So you want to mix up the sort of the patterns, and you want to mix up the colours. So you don't have too much samey stuff going on. Pop that one on there. And some of these I might choose to cut down a little bit. I think I'll pop this one up here. And I just worked along until I was happy with the way, it was all going together. Then I trimmed that off and I mounted it onto the card. So, and it's got a bit of a wider margin around it. So I just used some little, you could use any kind of little embellishments. These are some little stars I cut out of gold foil, and I just used them to embellish that. So this, again, this was the original card, and you can see this is well on the way. I'm not going to finish it off here because it's, you can pretty much see how it goes together. Just fill up the space in a pleasing way, and then your card, and trim it off, and your card will be pretty much done. Just wanted to show you too, I use the same idea for a bigger format card. This has not been finished yet, but I've done some gold embossing, and you could actually put some strips of gold and pattern paper in there as well. So that just needs to be finished off. And this is one I did actually finish. I did show it on Facebook. I'll just open this up. I like to keep them in the plastic because I'm a messy. I can be a messy crafter. You can't actually see where this opens. All the way down here. So this is an extra large size card in in imperial sizings. It's 7 by 5 inches. And I haven't memorised that off by heart in metric. It's about 18, how much is it? It's about 18 centimetres by 12 3/4, 12.75 approximately. So you can see if you compare it with a standard card, it's a lot bigger. And I've made an envelope to go with it. And this would be a great way to, I think, a nice blocky sentiment that looks good on a big card like this. This is the Happy Birthday, Biggest Wish, I think it's called. And there's a very similar, same font, same size stamp set that's in the mini catalogue. And it has Merry Christmas and to you and yours and a few other sentiments which would look great on a Christmas card. So I'd recommend that as something to look at. It hasn't made it to the top of my wish list yet though, but you can see I love this one for a bold big card like this. So those are my cards that I've made. I've got, as I say, some still need a little finishing off. This one needs finishing off, but you know, these are the ones that are complete, and I'm very happy with how they turned out. And it's just a way of using up those scraps that might otherwise be consigned to the rubbish bin. So I hope that gives you some inspiration for using your scraps up. And I'll just finish typing up the PDF, and I'll link this into the this video on YouTube. And I hope you can see it there, and it might inspire you to make some Christmas cards for yourself. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you still get a bit more happy crafting time this long weekend. In New Zealand, it's a 3-day weekend, so I hope you get some good crafting time. Okay, see you later. Bye.